Thank you for joining our How to Comply with ISO 9001 in a Digital World. I'm Kevin Devecioglu. I'm the Managing Director of Bimser International. Today we'll be talking about ISO 9001 and we'll be talking about QDMS, Quality, Compliance and Risk Management Software. We also have great speakers today. We have Alex Kvartirov with us as certified ISO auditor, and we have ETR Gonzalez, our pre-sales software engineer, and we have our sales executive, John Cornelius, with us today. And we'll be starting with our brief company presentation about who we are, and then we'll be talking about ISO 9001. Well, as Bimser International, we are an enterprise software maker since 1998, and as a company, we believe in simplicity, and we help companies simplify their processes. And our vision is to be the leader in our market, which is global enterprise marketplace. Digital transformation is our specialty, and we are a digital transformation enabler for companies in different industries. As a company, we have global presence. We have our software development center in Istanbul metro area. We have another company in Europe for our European sales operations. As Bimser International, we are based in New York. As a group, in total, we are about 150 people working day and night to improve our products. Bimser is a certified SAP vendor, a Microsoft Gold partner, and an Acumatica independent software vendor. Since 1998, we have been implementing and developing 4 products only: IBA, BEAM, QDMS, and Ensemble. IBA is our workflow and document management software. BEAM is our maintenance and asset management software. QDMS, which we'll be talking about more today, is our quality, risk, and compliance management software. Ensemble is a business process management software. So when we look at our products, Ensemble is a managerial tool, helps companies manage their KPIs and processes. IBA, BEAM, and QDMS automate processes of companies in their own scope. All of our products, they can work standalone, they can be integrated to each other, they can work on-premise, they can work in cloud environments, and they have mobile apps available. As I mentioned, they can work independently. They're integrated to any ERP, any CRM platform available in the marketplace. So we have up-to-date technology available for our clients. And what we have been doing so far is also very impressive if you think about it since 1998. These figures show how many projects we have delivered. So as for IBA, we have implemented IBA more than 400 times. As for BEAM, we have implemented more than 300 times. And as for QDMS, more than 750 times we have implemented. And Ensemble, we have implemented more than 150 times and still counting. So we are very experienced in what we are doing since 1998. Also, let me give you brief information about our customers, some of our references, very well-known reputable references that we have. 3M is one of our references using IBA in 17 different countries. United Nations is also one of our customers using IBA. ArcLight Movie Theaters based in California, one of our references, they use IBA in their purchasing operations. AstraZeneca in pharmaceutical industry, Societe Generale in banking industry, some of our references. And in automobile, Ford and Renault-Nissan Alliance and Bridgestone, some of our references available. And we have more references also available on our website, which is bimserint.com. So in a nutshell, as Bimser International, that's who we are and what we do. We develop enterprise software products. Now what I like to do is that I like to turn it into our expert speaker, Alex Kvartikov, about ISO and why ISO is so important for companies and what we should be all careful about ISO when we are implementing it. Alex, would you like to take it from here?
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining today's webinar. And Kevin, I really appreciate the opportunity to make this presentation on the ISO 9001 Quality Management System and its and advantages. My presentation is a very basic introduction to ISO 9001, so I apologize to anyone who is already familiar with the standard. However, for those who are not, this will provide you with a top-level overview. So let me start by going over the topics for today's presentation. First, I will mention about the origin of ISO, then discuss the meaning of the quality management system called QMS, and address the benefits that ISO 9001 brings to your organization. I will briefly touch on the plan, do, check, act cycle, and finally conclude how to achieve and maintain ISO certification. Next slide, please. Okay, a brief history of the standard. In 1987, the International Organization for Standardization, this is where the term ISO stands for. It really should have been iOS, but everybody calls that ISO. It's probably easier to pronounce it. With there were 91 member nations that adopted the ISO 9000 series of standards. In 1994, the series was updated to an ANSI ISO ASQ standard, and U.S. companies were able to become certified to this standard. About 20 years ago, the ANSI ASQ National Accreditation Board, or ANAB, was formed to provide accreditation to certification bodies or registrars, who in turn had the authority to grant ISO certification to the individual companies. So now ISO 9001 is recognized throughout the world. Many companies will not buy from you unless you are ISO certified. The ISO 9000 standards are based on the idea that a well-designed quality assurance program provides confidence in the organization's products and the management team. It serves as a basis for other industry-specific standards, such as automotive, aerospace, medical devices, food safety, environmental, information security management, and occupational health and safety, and so on. Okay. Next slide, please. So what is the quality management system, QMS? ISO 9001 requirements include everything necessary for an organization, and that includes all processes needed to manage the resources and other top-level processes. The scope of the QMS must include every part of the business, from sales and planning activities all the way to delivery and post-delivery. The QMS has simply become the way to do business. It is interesting to note that some organizations refer to as a business management system. The scope of the QMS documentation covers all aspects of the business except financial data. I would like to just briefly define some of the terms used in the QMS. First, process. A process is a sequence of activities that use inputs to deliver an intended output. For example, the production process has several steps that must be conducted in the appropriate sequence. Inputs in this process are raw materials, product specifications, and work instructions, while the outputs are the product, quality check, report, etc. The procedure is a defined way to execute an activity or a process. Policies are directives that are established by both internally by the organization and imposed by external regulatory agencies. And record consists of all the organization's internal data required for operation, but excluding the financial data. These documents describe the rules within the company that prescribe how products or services are created and delivered to customers. A successful QMS needs to be designed around the specific requirements of the company, its products, and services. It is important to stress that ISO 9001 is not a rigid set of requirements and that organizations have the flexibility to implement their quality management system. This freedom allows the ISO 9001 standard to be used in a wide range of organizations and small and large businesses. One important aspect of ISO 9001 is its process-oriented approach. Instead of looking at a company's departments and individual processes, ISO 9001 requires that companies look at the big picture. How do the processes interact? Can they be integrated with one another? What are the key aspects of delivering products and services? Okay, next slide, please. Now, why is ISO good for your organization? Well, there's quite a few things, and this may even, surprise you. Organizations of all sizes have found tremendous benefits with this standard, including big savings in both cost and efficiency. And here's how your company may benefit. Better customer satisfaction. The focus of ISO is raising the customer satisfaction by properly determining and achieving customer requirements. Moreover, when you have higher rates of customer satisfaction, you see higher rates of repeat business. Increase revenue and profitability. Even though ISO 9001 does not directly manage and control revenue and profitability, more repeat business will improve the financial results of the organization. Improve public image. By showing that you have been professionally certified, you show your customers and public at large that you utilize a system dedicated to improving customer satisfaction. They will know that you can meet customer requirements and deliver promised results. Access to new customers. In many cases, customers require their suppliers to be ISO 9001 certified. Having your QMS certified against ISO 9001 will open many doors to your company and enable you to participate in public tenders. Better decision making. A successful quality management system depends on good decision making based on sound evidence. This allows a company to better use its resources to address problems, improve efficiency, and increase effectiveness. Create a continual improvement culture. Because the main goal of ISO 9001 is continual improvement, your company can realize greater savings of resources like time and money. If your company culture is continual improvement, then your employees will naturally focus their talents on making their own processes better. Increased efficiency. A QMS based on ISO 9001 uses a process approach that examines each process within your company as well as how those processes interact. In this way, it becomes easier to determine where you can make improvements and where you can combine and save resources. Better process integration. The organization needs to establish, implement maintain, and continually improve its QMS, including the processes needed and their interactions in accordance with the requirements of the standard. This is where the process approach comes into action. The organization must determine inputs and outputs of the processes, sequence and interaction of the processes, resources needed, responsibilities to ensure the effectiveness of the processes. And finally, engage workforce. There's no one better suited to discover solutions for improving a process than the employees who spend their days working within that process. When employees are encouraged to improve their processes rather than just managing them, they become more engaged in the process of the company as a whole. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to talk about the PDCA cycle, and the core of this standard and many other management system standards is the so-called plan, do, check, act cycle, which dictates an effective management system. This, by the way, was developed by Edward Deming, who was instrumental in developing modern quality control. The first step in the cycle is planning, which includes defining objectives, policies, procedures, and processes, including measuring aim to show whether the processes are delivering the expected results. The next step is the do phase, which represents the realization of the planned arrangements, applying policies and procedures, forming processes, and producing records. After the do phase comes the check phase, where the results of the do phase are analyzed to determine performance and effectiveness of the activities and actions that were taken during the do phase, which includes analyzing, monitoring, and measuring results, audits, and management reviews. As the final stage of the cycle, the act phase, is where the organization is to take actions according to the results of the check phase in order to achieve continual improvement. The PDE cycle should be an ongoing cycle that drives the organization toward continual improvement. Okay, next slide, please. Now let's see what are the milestones needed to achieve certification. Well, first, the QMS must be established for the organization and implemented to demonstrate compliance with the ISO 9001 requirements. The QMS must be operated for a sufficient period of time to demonstrate its effectiveness. Then you need to identify, select, and hire a registrar that is most familiar with your type of business. This, the registrar will send an auditor who will review processes to ensure that you are ready for certification. Then perform an internal audit of all the processes for compliance with the QMS. Internal personnel may perform the audit, but he or she cannot audit processes that they are personally involved in. Management must show active involvement in all of the processes. Schedule regular review meetings to assess the effectiveness of the QMS. Corrective action is the focus for ISO 9001 that requires identification of root cause of problems, perform analysis to determine the necessary corrective action, and ensure that the resolution is identified and verified. The actual certification by the registrar's auditor consists of two stages. Stage one is a brief assessment of the readiness of the organization to proceed with a formal certification review. Several weeks later, in stage two, all of the organization's documents, records, processes, and business practices are verified for compliance with ISO 9001. Action items may be generated by the auditor that must be closed prior to completing the certification requirement. Okay, next slide, please. Now, in order to maintain the ISO certification, the organization must continue to implement the QMS, educate their staff, and get continued support and oversight by management. Active management participation is a key factor in maintaining ISO certification. And I'm really stressing that. There's no way going back to the original way of managing the business prior to the certification. So once you're certified, you really have to maintain your processes that you signed up to. As all of the applicable processes must be maintained, keeping documents, the records must be up to date, conduct regular management meetings to continually address areas of improvement. To ensure compliance with the QMS, an internal audit must be completed yearly at a minimum. Finally, the registrar must review adherence to the ISO 9000 process on a yearly basis. Okay, final slide, please. All right, conclusion. With the QMS in place and operational, the organization is focusing on achieving the quality goals. Management is provided with data on a continual basis and able to see progress or lack of progress towards the goals and then take appropriate action. The organized, scheduled process of conducting management reviews ensures that this evaluation is taking place, provides mechanisms goals and performance, goals on a scheduled basis, and taking action based on evaluation. So the results of certification of ISO 9001 are well-defined and documented procedures to prove the consistency of output. Quality is constantly measured. Procedures ensure corrective action is taken, never defects occur. Defect rates decrease. Defects are caught earlier and are corrected at a lower cost. Documented procedures are easier for new employees to follow. Organizations increase market share, growing and revenue. A well-designed and implemented quality management system based on ISO 9001 has been shown to provide organizations with the following benefits. You will have consistent, repeatable results. You will have fewer problems with failures in service or product quality. The people will know what to do and how you want it done. You will have more business because you can sell to new markets, and having this endorsement will distinguish you in the marketplace. You will know more if things are going wrong and where. Stop spending money or wasting time on the same old problems. Many problems will disappear because you know how to prevent them. If they do come up, you will know how to fix them faster. So better management control and reporting means that you know how your business is doing. So that's really all, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for the insights with regards to ISO 9001. And it's definitely good to learn about ISO and how to comply with and what kind of advantages that a company can have applying the ISO 9001 standard. By the way, for our attendees, again, thank you for attending this webinar. If you have any questions, please type your questions in chat box, and we will address your questions in Q&A session. Well, now we know about ISO 9001 and how to comply with and why it's so important for our companies. Now, let's talk about how to comply with ISO 9001 in a digital environment. Now, I'd like to turn it to Bimser International's pre-sales software engineer, Itier Gonzalez, and she'll be sharing with us how to comply with ISO 9001 in a digital environment. Itier?
Thank you, Gavin, and thank you, Alex, for your presentation. So what I'm going to do is share with you a couple of slides about QDMS, and then I'll show you how the product works. By the way, QDMS stands for Quality Document Management System, and it is a product that can help you ensure you're following the regulatory requirements of a certain standard, such as ISO. And the fundamentals of ISO are simple. You have to state what you're going to do, you have to do it after, and then finally you have to be able to prove it. So let's see how QDMS can help you achieve that. You'll see in a little bit that QDMS includes many different modules and that they may work together or independently. That is why it is a significant advantage having the modular product, because companies only have to pay for what they need at the moment. Maybe you want to start by using 2 modules, and then in a few months you can get another 2, and that way you can increase the functionality within your company and QDMS. Also, QDMS is flexible and scalable. Flexible as in it helps companies comply with any standard, whether it's ISO, BRC, SQF, and scalable as in it grows with the company. Today you may have 100 users, tomorrow 1,000 users, or you're still going to be able to take advantage of QDMS. And it is a product that is extremely easy to use, and it is also easy to deploy. So once a company defines its procedures and pre-configures the system with us, you can get started in as little as 1 week. And not only will you be able to track everything you do in terms of quality, but you will also be creating a paperless corporate memory accessible anywhere. You can log into QDMS from a computer, a tablet, or you can use our mobile application, which is available for Android and iOS too. Let's take a look at some modules available on QDMS. So QDMS was built as a quality document management system with workflow capabilities, and that is the module on the top left-hand corner. But however, the functionality of QDMS has widened over time, giving way to all these modules you see on this slide and more. No matter the module that we're working with, every task, every activity or process is going to be monitored. Thanks to that, we can create reports from the information stored in the system. So for example, with the document management module, users can upload documents which can later be reviewed, distributed, or approved. The next module helps companies manage customer complaints, and these complaints can be both internal and external, which means that it's possible to get feedback both from employees but also from suppliers or customers. CAPA stands for Corrective and Preventive Actions, and with this module, companies can identify nonconformities and opportunities for improvement, and they can develop a plan to take care of them. With the Audit Management module, companies can create audit plans and send, for example, an employee to perform an internal audit. Then the Action Management module helps companies keep track of tasks, meetings, projects, and we can assign actions to the users of the system and make sure they complete them within a certain time frame. Then we have the Survey module. We can create a survey within minutes, we can distribute it, we can collect feedback instantly. There is also a module to manage the training the employees have to complete. We can record information about the sessions, the instructors, the attendees, and we can even issue a certificate once the training is over. Then we have a module for calibration, which allows companies to monitor their assets, like a machine or a device, by creating work orders periodically to make sure they work correctly. And finally, QDMS includes a few modules for risk management, whether it is to measure environmental risk or health, safety risk, or IT risk. And we keep working on the product to add more functionality to QDMS. So now I'm going to log into a demo environment, and I'm going to show you how the product works. Let's start with QDMS. I just logged in with an end user, which means I can see most of the modules that are used when we want to comply with ISO. Okay, we see that there is a screen here where we have all of our pending tasks. Everything is going to be grouped by category. So you're going to see that there are boxes for documents that we have to read. You see the list here. There are CAPAs that we have to take care of, like we have to write a first progress report. There might be some root cause analysis to perform, external customer complaints, surveys to fill out. Maybe we have to participate in a training, and everything is going to appear here, okay? Then at the top, we can access the main menu, which is called Integrated Management System. And here we can see all of our modules, okay? We have more, but this user has access to this particular set of modules. So I'm gonna guide you through most of them right now, starting with the document management system. So for example, if we take a look at the folder structure that we have in the system, this user has access to certain documents. And in particular, I'm gonna show you a sample document that we have in the system. And you'll see that first, you can read the document right here. We have the integrated viewer, so there is no need for downloading the document. We can access it directly here. Then the document information tab shows the document code, the name, the title of the document, the revision number 1. Right now, the original document was number 0. We're on the second revision, so number 1. We see who owns the document, when it was prepared, when it was submitted, who created it, who's the controller. We have some approvers there. We can take a look at the revision information tab where we see that there was a previous version of it. And this way we can allow users to also access previous revisions of the document. Here under the permission tab, we can see all the user groups or positions that have access to read, print, revise, review, or even delete these documents. Okay, we can manage the authorizations here. We can also take care of the distribution. So for example, here there is a list of users who are going to be receiving a notification saying, there is a new document active. Then we also have someone who has to approve the document before it becomes public in the system. We can add comments. We can also have a tab here for controlling the hard copies if we have any. We have a reference tab. We have attachments. We can have revision requests listed here. So if we deem necessary to have another document with a new section, we can do it here. We can have the product that we're talking about, the review list completely here, and finally the history tab where we can see chronologically all the steps that this document went through until it became public in the system. So that's how the document management system works. We can take a look now at the external customer complaints. I'm going to show you one of the examples here in the system. So this is for a company, right, that had maybe a problem whenever they received maybe a package and there were some missing items, and you see that there is like a few tabs that are similar to what we showed before and that we have to go through them. So whenever we submit a new customer complaint, we can select the customer that we're talking about. We can describe who or what is going on, what went wrong. We can also select the complaint category. So this is something that is going to be particular for each company. Each company is going to have their own structure here. Like, for example, if you're talking about product nonconformities, we can have a few of them listed right there. And that's something that we have to configure with our clients first. And then we have a list of users that are going to be informed about this customer complaint. And obviously, these customer complaints can be coming in from either our website or via email. We can maybe receive a call saying that there was some kind of problem. And if we also have some more information about the product, such as the product code or the lot number, the order number, we can also enter some more information in here. Then the next thing to do would be to select the team who's going to work on this. So in this case, myself, I'm the team leader right there. I have like a few team members that are going to work with me. And then by default, there's going to be like a 3-day period where we can work on our first progress report. Okay, we can also modify that date. And finally, we can add some attachments. So maybe if we receive some pictures about it, we can put them there. And the next thing to do would be to take care of the first progress report, but there is like a separation between them. So right where I'm showing you right there, that's like what you have to do when you submit a new complaint, and then once you save it, it goes to the solution team, and then you can start working on it. Okay, so the first thing to do once it has been submitted would be to work on the first progress report. We have a final report date right there. We can modify that. We can have our team again there, and once we identify the root reasons, we can list them here. And then maybe for each root reason that we have, in this case, maybe there was a problem with the packaging machine, we can start adding more root reasons, or taking care of all of that before we submit the actions. So for example, in this case, there was one action to take care of that one root reason that we obtained, and what we can do is list all the actions here, and then the user is going to be receiving a notification saying, you have to perform this action, and that's the icon that I'm going to click right now. We have the possibility of completing an action and list here what we did. And then once we do that, we can move forward with the final report. We can open a follow-up. We can close that report, and at the end, we're going to be able to see a final report under the Show tab, which lists everything that we went through from the beginning to the end to take care of this customer complaint. And this module can be integrated with others in the system. So for example, we can relate the customer complaints with the CAPAs, because maybe if we figured out there was something wrong, maybe we have to open a CAPA, and unless we close that CAPA, we cannot close the customer complaint. So let me show you one of the CAPAs here in the system. This is another example. We have a CAPA that is coming due to a customer dissatisfaction. Someone received a damaged product, right? It is not something that we can accept, so we have to take care of that. Again, we can take a note of the nonconformities. We can select the category. So in this case, we have different unsuitability categories, and we can have our tree structure just like that. Again, we're going to have to inform someone about this. In this case, just one user. We have, again, our solution team. We can add attachments. We can have a first progress report. So all of this is very similar to what you just saw. We have the root causes, and then finally the actions. Okay, so everything is similar. Once you know how to work with the system, everything is going to be the same. Those three tabs are not active right now, but we can take a look at the error distribution, which is something different. From the customer complaints, we can maybe take note of the money that we spent on it, and also we can take a look at the Global 8 Disciplines tab, where we can analyze a bit more in detail that CAPA. We can see maybe that this was, what was the problem, the root causes, the permanent corrective actions, the ones that we have implemented, the ones that are preventive, and we can follow all those steps, and finally access a view tab where we can see that complete report of these CAPA. Then also, if you have that ISO certification in place, you're going to have an audit plan typically, right? So let me show you how that looks like. I'm going to open one of the audit plans here in the system. So basically, we define the frame first. We have an audit plan maybe for 2018. We can have a start date, end date. It can last a year, for example. We can have a few people there that are going to be in charge of it. And then once we define the plan, we can start adding audits to it. So in this case, there are a few quality internal audits, and then at the bottom, you can see a production internal audit. We see who's the lead auditor, the audit team, the units responsible, when the dates, the times, the status. And for example, we can add the questions that our auditors have to ask during those audits. So for example, right now we have two very simple questions. Obviously, we're going to have a predefined list of questions that we can ask. So if we have all of these here in the system, we can start selecting the questions that we want and add them, assign them to this audit. And you see that we see the question and then the expected answer. So once we send one of our auditors, they're going to be able to see, what they are supposed to receive as an answer, and they can start taking notes. Maybe they can start planning and adding maybe the finding types or the questions that they got, and then you can see if that department is going to pass that audit or not. Then we can also do something similar for the action. So we can define an action plan, and we can, for example, start adding our daily tasks or like tasks related to projects here to these plans. So in this case, there is a sales meeting plan in here. We have again who's responsible for these actions, the type of the question, the performer, the department that has to take care of it, the start date, the end date, if it has been delayed or not, the status, and the completion percentage. So you can see if it has been completed or not. And it works very similar. You can see all of your pending tasks, and you'll see all of those actions right there, so that you can take care of them. And typically, whenever we are gonna have to work with many different activities, like maybe we have to read documents, we have to take care of CAPAs, maybe actions or audits, we can see here under the Management Review tab all of those activities. We can see what we have to do, what we didn't do and we have to do, or the activities that are planned for the future. We can filter them, and that way we can make sure that we complete them in order. The survey module is also very interesting, and it is not something that that other companies do. So, for example, we can create an employee satisfaction survey. We can do something like this. This is a very simple survey. We can have like the title, we can have radio button questions, we can have checkboxes, we can have drop downs, we can have free text, we can maybe add the date at the bottom. And then once a user gets this kind of survey and they fill it out, you can get feedback instantly. So I'm gonna log in right now with a different user. You see that I'm the manager right now, and I can see the results of this survey, and I can see that this survey was sent to Kevin. That was the only participant. So the participation percentage was 100%, and you can see the questions that we asked. And for example, who answered yes, who answered sometimes, who answered no, the distribution of these answers. And obviously we can do this anonymously, but we can also use this survey module to even create quizzes after a training, for example. So there is another option that allows us to see the actual answers that Kevin submitted while completing that survey. Okay, so we can have it either anonymously, or we can see also who was the person who submitted the survey. So let me now go back to the other user, to the end user, to continue with the demo. And finally, the last module that I'm going to be talking about today is the training one. So we can create a training plan. You're going to see that again, we have the possibility of adding items to this training plan. And in this case, there is one item. You can either have your manager ask you to complete a training to comply, with the ISO standard, because one of the things that you have to do is be up to date, right? In terms of the training, all of your employees have to go through a certain training period, right? But then you can also request one yourself. Okay, so we have those two options. And basically, the modules that you see on the slide are the ones that are frequently used whenever we are talking about ISO. But keep in mind that QDMS is a modular product. We have customers, for example, that already manage the customer complaints in a different platform, and maybe we can even integrate with that and have all of the customer complaints listed here in the system. But it is definitely a product that is going to help you comply and maintain your certifications. So what we're going to do now is go back to the presentation so that we can have the Q&A session. We are going to be reviewing your questions right now, and we can talk about them, okay?
Let's see. Yes, thank you here for the demonstration of QDMS. Now we have an idea of ISO 9001, thanks to Alex and his presentation, and thanks to ETR's demonstration. Now we have an idea of how to comply ISO 9001 in a digital environment. Just like ETR mentioned, we have a couple of questions that we have been getting to the chat box directly to me or to the box. The first question looks like ETR for you. Is there any mobile app available that users can use for QDMS? ETR, would you address this question?
Sure. We have the mobile application. It's available for Android and iOS. So anything that we do, we can do it either from the computer, from the phone, from a tablet. Because maybe the auditor that has to complete an audit is not going to be in his office. They're going to have to go through certain steps. They have to go to the department. They have to talk to the auditees, and it is going to be easier if they have the access to the system from like a tablet or a phone.
Thank you. We have another question. Alex, looks like this question is for you. How long does it take for a company to be certified for ISO? Alex,
Yeah.
would you address this question? Thank you.
Sure, yes. Well, it's a good question, but it really depends on the state of the company. If the company already follows the intent of ISO 9000, that it would only require maybe some fine tuning, which could take as little as maybe 3 months. However, if the organization lacks any structure or elements required by ISO, then it could take maybe a year or more, depending on the commitment of the top management and the time that the company has in actually developing a process and all the procedures to support ISO certification. So it could vary anywhere from a few months to maybe a year or more.
Thank you, Alex. Looks like we have another question for you. Let's see the question. From your experience, what are the most difficult aspects in developing an ISO 9001 compatible environment at an organization?
Well, okay. For an organization that is really not set up in accordance with the ISO guidelines, I would say that it is the employee buy-in. Initially, when you start to impose some processes and some structure, there is a strong resistance to making changes from the workers. The key aspect, I think, of introducing the ISO principles is to get the employees involved in defining the processes and procedures. So as the implementation is starting and is yielding positive results, the staff will get on board and recognize the advantages of the new business environment, and then they'll get over all their initial resistance. But that takes time, and you really have to make sure that they're heard and that they are providing inputs into the entire process.
Thank you, Alex. We have a question. Looks like it is for ETR. Let's see the question. To manage customer complaints, would it be possible to integrate QDMS to our ERP system?
Yes, QDMS can be integrated with other ERPs, other solutions. And so, for example, if you're receiving customer complaints through your website and you want to directly get those complaints into the system, we can work with you to get all of those complaints directly into QDMS to save time. Okay, so we can automate that process for you too.
Well, we are getting great questions, and thank you for your participation. Alex, looks like that is for you. Where to submit documents and procedures to get ISO certification?
Well, the ISO, the latest standard, which everybody's supposed to be certified to, which is the ISO 9001-2015, has actually reduced the number of documents required. There's really actually 4 documents required. It's the scope of the quality management system, then the quality policy, then the quality objectives and plans for achieving them, and finally, procedures for control of externally provided processes, products, and services. So those are really intended for outsourced processes. So a very important part of ISO now ensure that you monitor all your suppliers, that they have, that they meet in certain standards. So those are the four required mandated documents. Now, obviously, it's then up to the organization to decide which documents are needed to make their operations successful. Obviously, it's a whole list of documents that could be added to that list, but they're not required by the ISO 9000 2015 version.
Thank you, Alex. We are getting great questions, and thank you for your participation to all of our attendees. Also, please keep in mind that we put the contact information of our speakers, our panelists today. So after this webinar, feel free to get in touch with any of us for further information. Definitely, we'll be happy to continue this conversation. I have another question for you, Alex, and it's a very, very good question actually. So I will address this. I will share it with you. Should a startup take on looking at ISO 9001 compliance at early stages? So, okay, the question is, what will be the ideal stage of a company to comply with ISO 9001? Is it supposed to be in the early stage of a company, for instance, as a startup, or later on when the company grows and gets a little bigger? Would it be a better idea, better timing to comply with ISO 8001? What would you say in terms of the timing of a company? Speaking of a lifetime of any organization, Alex.
Yeah. Well, I believe that if a company has plans to eventually get ISO certification, then the structure for ISO should be really adopted from, I think, the beginning, because then it's really my perspective is that even if you are not planning to get ISO certification in the near future, but if you adopt the ISO structure where you define your processes and you have all of your process in place to perform continual improvement, that will get you the certification a lot quicker. Basically ignoring ISO completely, and then when you reach a certain stage, then start to focus on it, because that may require you to restructure some of your internal processes. So, like I said, the whole ISO guidelines, I think, is a benefit whether or not you're even planning to get certification or not. And even so, if you're an ISO-like organization, and then manager makes a decision for you to become certified, then it's a relatively easy step to invite the registrar and get the certification.
Well, great questions and great answers. Thank you, Alex, and thank attendees for great questions. Well, looks like we are running out of time. Well, I would like to thank you for our attendance, and I'd like to also thank our panelists for sharing their insights. Much appreciated. As I mentioned earlier, we put our contact information on the screen, so feel free to get in touch with us for ISO 9001, for QDMS with regards to how to comply with ISO 9001 in a detailed, and any other questions that you may have within this context, feel free to get in touch with us. Having said that, tomorrow we will have another executive webinar with regards to how to how to use an ERP system and how to use IBA in a growing company. That is for tomorrow. And as for Thursday, we have another webinar with regards to manufacturing 4.0 and smart factory concept. So I hope you can also join us for these webinars tomorrow and Thursday. And I'll be also putting the registration links in the chat box. Feel free to click them and register. They are for free. And while we are ending our webinar today, I would like to thank you and look forward to seeing you in our coming executive webinars. Have a nice day. Thank you.